With less than 2 months before Retro Games Limited released their modern incarnation of the classic microcomputer, the zxspectrum, plenty of us old school gamers are getting ready to enjoy the 48 games that are already built in. However, one of its most attractive features is its ability to add other games via a USB drive. I know many of us will be well aware of the classics like Dan Dare, Attack and R-Type, so I figured I'd do my own list of the first games I'll be adding. I'm not claiming any of these are even nearly as good as Jetpack or Elite, but here are a few you might not have heard of, and occupy a very nostalgic place in my heart. This one could be the most generic game on my list. I don't know why it was as fun as it was, but I loved playing it. Don't think I ever completed it, but even though it was hard, I took dark enjoyment in the way the hapless astronaut's neck brutally breaks when he dies. And he dies a lot. Never go to Jupiter without appropriate travel insurance. In Feud, you get to play as one of two warring wizard brothers, Lyric or Leneric. Apparently there's more bad feeling between them than the Gallagher brothers, and they want to murder each other whenever their eyes meet. Collect killer ingredients for your book, and let him have it. Would you believe it's actually possible to complete this game in less than 2 minutes? If you get the right weapons, anyway. Could be the proudest moment of my life. That and the birth of my daughter. When we watched Alien, who didn't wonder what it would be like to be the actual xenomorph hunting down the Nostromo's crew? Well, here you can get pretty close to that. You play as an alien-esque monster who feeds on the innocent little baby-like residents of the ships he's boarded. We call those little guys mooches. I still don't know why. Rescue. A lot of fun and a lot of frustration. I could handle killing enemies, but getting those hapless scientists to run in the right direction towards the escape craft is a task in itself. Plus, apparently I was the only one not to notice the massive comparison to Colony. Perhaps the biggest difference was that this one had an ending, and I actually completed it. And I always thought that our hero looked like Han Solo. Is that just me? How excited was I when I found Quartet in W.H. Smith's back in 1987. You can play as Joe, Lee, Edgar or Mary, and it might not be arcade perfect and there's a lot of colour clash, but there aren't that many two-player games included with the console, and this is pretty playable. Maybe just wear a pair of shades while you play it. If I had a spaceship, I definitely want it to look like a carrot. A metal murder carrot that can blast its way through waves of aliens and travel through time. Now, I don't claim to be amazing at shoot-em-ups, and I refuse to play anything known as bullet hell, but I was actually pretty good at this one. If you do download it, make sure it's a 128K version. It's got a cracking tune on loop. Before the Starship Troopers killed bugs in their thousands, you could be a robotic bowling ball with legs and a nose cannon, and get the job done on a far-flung human outpost. Keep your colony running smoothly, and protect those mushrooms from being eaten by the local insect population. Who wouldn't want to play as a happy cosmic tractor, bulldozing his way through planets' cores and dropping bombs on aliens? Okay, probably most people. But this happens to be one of the first 3 games my parents bought for me. Nostalgia clouds my judgment on this one. If the box art wasn't cool enough, you get to play as an alien called Zub. He has to climb to the top of each level before various creatures knock him back down and drain his energy. When you do get him to the top, you can choose which level to play next. I made my very own map of the fastest route to travel to the final planet, and I own it 40 years later. No cheating required for me to complete this one. Also, weird ending if I recall. Aliens happens to be my favourite film of all time, and I can't believe this version never got more love. It's about as close to a multi-character first-person strategy shooter as the Spectrum could manage. But just don't try to play it without the map that was included when you bought it. You can probably find it on the internet these days. Otherwise it's game over, man. Game over! Another guilty pleasure film of mine from the 80s. Who'd have thought it would be made into a game for my home micro? Yes, the movie is violent, and yes, the game does it justice in all its 8-bit glory. Me and my friends loved the grisly effects of blowing people up with bazookas in the street. I promise I never machine gunned down an old lady. Honest. Fred was Britain's answer to Indiana Jones, where you have to navigate pyramids filled with ghosts and monsters. And if you're lucky, you may just escape with a few treasures. But the reason it's coming in at number 1 is because it happens to be the first ever computer game I really dedicated time to. And even after many weeks, I could only really get to the 3rd level. I hear the upcoming Spectrum has a rewind feature. Surely I wouldn't use that to cheat my way through to the final pyramid. I thought I'd include this one as a bonus, not because it's any good. In fact, it's only 16k worth of code and the keyboard layout is atrocious. The missions were pretty hard and me and my friends used to get more enjoyment bombing our own aircraft carrier, making landing back on it impossible. That meant we just had to fly on for all eternity, or rather until we ran out of fuel and crashed into the ocean. But it was the first ever computer game I played, all the way back in 1983. Little did I know that it would begin a chain reaction of gaming which I indulge in to this day, even if my once razor-sharp reactions frequently let me down now. And those are the first few games I'm going to add. Do let me know if you've heard or played any of these, and even better, if there are any other hidden gems I need to add when the Spectrum eventually comes through my door in November.